This meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation as indicated by the agenda. The meeting site is fully accessible, and any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent at the school corporation's central office. Trey, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You could stand, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do have one member absent, Mr. Haviland, due to work obligations, and Mr. Parks is joining us virtually, also due to work obligations. So we do have a quorum. Mission statement.
Lebanon Community School Corporation challenges everyone every day to reach a new best.
Thank you. We need to approve the minutes from our regular March 18th meeting and certify the content from the March 26th executive session. Does anyone have questions about the minutes? Can I have a motion to approve both the regular and executive session minutes?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. We move on to informational items. Dr. Milliman.
Thank you, Mrs. Hutchinson. You give me a second here to try to steal the screen from Mrs. Beltran. Sometimes I'm a little challenged in doing that. Did I do it? Outstanding. So I just wanted to spend a few moments with the board this evening talking about, some things that tend to percolate within a community from time to time, and as we're in this political session as well, with the legislative session happening. I know there's a lot of conversation that happens around public schools and support for public schools. So I just wanted to address a couple things that have percolated throughout the community, and really a first time for me to address some of these items, and I think at this juncture it's appropriate for me to do so. I led with this. This is a sign, if you will, that I've had in my office for a couple decades or so. This is not attributable to anyone but me. This is the sign I look at across from my desk every day. And it just simply says, we use all of the patience, persistence, and energy necessary to reach every student. And in my career, all means all. And I think that is, quite frankly, public school superpower. That we accept all students and we meet all students where they are. And so I'm proud of that. I spent 36 years doing that. I'm proud to do it alongside the staff members and administrators in this district. Ironically, as we went through the mission statement and guiding principles work in the district a few years ago, I didn't know 20 years ago that we would be adopting through a collaborative process that everyone every day reaches a new best. So kind of interesting that has been something that has stayed on top of certainly what I believe is my responsibility as a public educator. To that end, we've encountered some interesting rhetoric recently, and there's a private school that will be starting in our community in the next year or two, and there's some statements within that process, including the application for the vouchers that was approved by the State Board of Education last week, that implies that standardized test scores is really a measure of your overall measure of your school's success. It certainly is a measure, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The iLearn goal that was stated by the school is actually 13 percentage points higher than our friends in Zionsville, who I believe does an excellent job in educating public school students in our community. So we've had some staff members who through some of the language that has been used has been has quite frankly felt a bit disrespected in their work that they do on behalf of our families, to the point that this evening I felt like I needed to let them know that we're proud of them, and we do appreciate the work that they do, and I hope our community does as well. I think it's important to remember that when we're talking about school choice in Indiana, we really need to not forget to use the apostrophe S in this process. When you talk about school choice, it's not we chose the school. In the school choice process, the school chooses you. That is a fundamental difference between public school and the private, quote, school choice. It is an important distinction. You have to meet a certain criteria. Private schools can require an aptitude test, an intelligence test. And in the case of the Premier Soccer Academy in Noblesville, you have to be a good enough soccer player to get into the Choice Scholarship School. So our tax dollars are subsidizing a soccer academy in Noblesville that has been established for basically a travel soccer team. And their soccer ability is the criteria to enter the school. These are important distinctions. We don't talk about these because of a mutual respect, quite frankly, in educating all students, whether it be private or public. There is a mutual respect among what we do, but the rhetoric is bubbling to a degree that I think it's just important to be able to step back and have this conversation and to make it a little bit more front and center. Again, our mission statement that Mr. Hendricks read is we challenge everyone every day to reach new best, and we accept all students with all of their complexities. One of the things you'll see oftentimes is that the Choice Scholarship Program is designed to allow, if you will, money to follow the child, but the data actually suggests something quite different. Pre-vouchers in Indiana, approximately 90% of all school-age children in Indiana attended public schools. Now that we have the Choice Scholarship Program, 90% approximately of school-age children in Indiana attend public schools. The voucher program, by the data that's available to anyone, would suggest that it has not moved the enrollment needle. What it has done is has moved the financial burden or the financial commitment of the taxpayers of Indiana. If the Choice Scholarship Program was its own line item in the state budget, it would be the 5th highest line item in the entire state budget. And at the same time, we all know that we are continuing to welcome students into our district with increasing needs. And we talk about that quite frequently here around the table. But I want to be clear again that this conversation is not anti-parent choice. If the Premier Soccer Academy or any other Choice Scholarship environment is the right environment for your child, you absolutely should enroll your child there. That is, I just want to be clear on that. That is certainly not what I'm saying. There are great teachers and great administrators that love their kids in all types of schools, public charter, and private schools. That's not what this conversation is. Conversation is about the fact that what we believe is our unique positive of being a public school, which is that all means all. We would just request that that not be used from a data standpoint to portray us in some negative light, because that's really our strength. Standardized tests certainly have purposes in our decision-making, and they're important. But using a standardized test is the primary determinant of school and teacher quality is not among those. It is among them, I should say, but it's not the primary one, right? So, example, we expect students to grow in our classrooms. We expect students to move the academic needle from the previous year's standardized test results to the next year's, certainly. Not all of our students start at the same starting point, however. So that is why one of our guiding principles is growth. We expect to be better tomorrow than we are today. That is that guiding principle. So it is absolutely important. It is absolutely part of our teacher evaluation and appraisal process. We look at student data. Are you growing your students? We expect teachers to know their students and grow their students. And so it is absolutely a data point that's important. But in the public arena, it is often used as a determinant of teacher and school quality. We can't help ourselves in this country. It's part of it is part of who we are. We're competitive. We like choice. We want that. We want those straight line explanations for why things are what they are. And so even though we know this, we still clamor to the IndyStar.com when test scores get published to see where we fell in that, in that spreadsheet, right? But our parents already know this. So the Gallup has conducted a poll for approximately 30 years now. And it is the public's perception of public education. So we have longitudinal data for years and years and years and years, asking the public their opinion of public education. 2005, beginning of the 2004-2005 school year, is very interesting, right? We've continued to pound this drum of this one snapshot test given in May to define our kids. And we desperately want that to define our school quality. But you know what we don't want it to do? We don't want it to define our own child. I have yet to encounter a parent that says, I want my child to be defined by one test that they take once a year in May. There may be some out there, but I have not met one. And the data supports that. So 78% of the people who were surveyed are public school parents or were public school parents. And this was from 2004-05. 24% were satisfied or very satisfied with K-12 public education. Nationally. Now, when Gallup said, how do you feel about the child your oldest school, the school your oldest child attends or your oldest child attended, 70% were satisfied. So it's not my kid's school, it's everybody else's school, right? Mrs. Walters is fantastic. Mrs. Miller is awesome. My kids' teachers are great, right? It's the rest that make up the less than desirable results, right? I find that very interesting. Our parents have figured this out for forever. They don't want their child defined by student. Experts and researchers agree as well. If any of you that are out here or with us today I encourage you to look into James Popham. Jim Popham is brilliant. He's spent his life in the assessment world, and he's funny. If you can find probably some videos out there. He's very good and engaging about explaining how this all works. One of his more famous articles is literally entitled, Why Standardized Tests Do Not Measure Educational Quality. So I encourage you to look into his work. Some of the more recent work is by the gentleman by the name of John Tanner, who is braveed.org. That's going to be easier because you got all look it up on your phone quickly. But braveed.org, founded by Mr. Tanner and his team. Mr. Tanner used to write standardized tests, so he understands how they're designed, what they're designed for, what they're designed to do. And he's spending his entire career helping schools and districts frame accountability in a context that matters to the community and is consistent year over year with what we hold important in our communities and we expect our schools to do. I'm actually on a Zoom call with Mr. Tanner Friday at 2 o'clock. If any of the board members want to join me, I'll be happy to send you the link. He is incredibly engaging. I'm going to attend at least one professional development with him this summer, and perhaps I can get him to Lebanon as well. He has been doing research for over 10 years now across the country. This is the June 24th version, and none of these have changed over the 10-year period. What parents, communities come together and say they want out of their public schools is they want student learning, but that's basics, learn to collaborate, digital literacy, aligning learning to the students' needs, which we do every day in our classrooms, student readiness, engaged, well-rounded students. They want kids to be safe. They want their teachers to be engaged and talented and know their students. They want the schools to be connected to the community, and they want effective systems. They want us to be good fiduciaries. We want to do good and efficient work. Here's the good news. We had began developing these 4 key systems before I met John Tanner. So I felt pretty good about this because if you look at the 4 key systems that drive our work in this district, community engagement, community connections, academic growth and opportunity, student learning, student readiness, engaged and well-rounded students, high-performing, engaged workforce, effective adults, and efficient and effective district operations. This is what we do. Every school improvement plan in this district sets goals on all 4 of these key systems. And we gauge and we monitor our school's progress on that. In 2 months, the school board is going to evaluate me in an executive session, and I'm going to send you a summary of this school year, and I'm going to send you a summary on how, hopefully, I did on these 4 key systems. These are the 4 key systems that I am held accountable to as a superintendent. So standardized tests are important, but they're not even the most important that our communities tell us year over year. But what the heck? Let's go ahead and pretend none of the last 4 slides existed and test this rhetoric about Lebanon and other public schools with data that we have. All 4 of our elementary schools provide all of these things for our students. All 4. High ability programming, engaged and trained staff, STEM education, art, music, PE, student-teacher ratio that's competitive with anyone in Indiana, dedicated police officers, and all instructional coaches. All of our elementary schools enjoy those items. And all 4 of our elementary schools make up the data from Lebanon High School, where we have a 96% graduation rate, well above the state average. 95% of the class of 2003 and 4 have a 95% core 4-year higher strength. We offer 24 dual credit course offerings, 16 career technical education pathways, 21 advanced placement courses. We have a 92% attendance rate, and those are students from Perry Worth, Central, Harney, and Hattie B. Stokes making up that data. So we're testing the data. As we went through our redistricting, probably one of the most disappointing things I've encountered in my time is some very unflattering and unfair characterizations of Hattie B. Stokes. I warned the principal before this meeting tonight I was going to share this. This is the first time in my 6 years that I've addressed it. It's disappointing, it's discouraging, it's unfair. It's uninformed. It's just frustrating. And it bubbles when you start making some big changes in your district. And again, I told you I was going to be a little bit blunt tonight, but and if it sounds like I'm taking a little bit personally, yes, but not for me, for them, for all those bored, stiff eyes looking back at their superintendent saying, "Move it along, Dr. Milliman." That's who I take this personal for, just to be clear. Hattie B. Stokes not only is above the state average in IREAD 3 for grade 2 a couple months ago, above the corporation average. They had the second highest IREAD 3 second grade scores in the district. Now, I hesitate because I'm looking out into the audience this evening and I see a Perry Worth teacher looking back at me as well. It's why you always hesitate as a superintendent to even show slides like this, because Perry Worth could be the second highest scores next year. Harney could be the second. It has a lot to do with the students in front of you in your class, the cycle of students that happen in the room. It's dependent on a lot of things, right? This slide is not to say, hey, Hattie B. Stokes beat 2 other schools. What I'm illustrating is the parity in this district that somehow is getting lost in this community. We have parity among our elementary schools. Our students achieve academically in all 4 elementary schools. It's exhausting to hear otherwise. It's just not the case. Again, it could change next year. Let's look at grade 3 in Hattie B. Stokes. 6 students separated Hattie B. Stokes IREAD 3 third grade scores from Perry Worth. Now, this is going to sound like an excuse. It's not. It's a reason. 3 of our special education self-contained programs are currently at Hattie B. Stokes. When I have my bi-monthly meetings with every principal, I sit at every principal's office every other month. Mrs. Walters had students' names written by these 6 students. They knew who the students were. They were already working with the students. And because of where they were in a special education status, this was not surprising to them. Like 4 of these 6 names we had some severe learning disabilities happening, okay? But because the state of Indiana required us to give the student the test, they knew who the students were. So it was really 2 or 3 students different. So I think it's important, these are the nuances that get lost. Hattie B. Stokes principal has, I'm going to round up here, Amber, 20 years experience as a principal in all settings, suburban, urban, complex student populations. She has more years experience. She has 4 times experience than 2 of our principals combined. She's a mentor among the elementary principals. She's a facilitator in the Indiana Principals Leadership Institute, as a sought-after mentor across the state of Indiana. And Maureen Rhodes, the assistant principal, is a rising star in school administration. They could not be led by a stronger team. And it frustrated me in one of my conversations when I shared that I would put my child, in Hattie B. Stokes tomorrow. And the person told me that I had to say that because I was a superintendent. I would put my son in that school tomorrow because they grow their kids. They're led by an incredible team. They got great teachers and great paraprofessionals. So on top of that, we have a municipality that's getting some rumblings from their citizens about Zionsville and Lebanon perhaps not meeting the community's needs. And I'm going to be joining the superintendent of Zionsville tomorrow to have a conversation about that. So let's test that. Let's test that with some data. So for Lebanon, we're above the state average for special education. We're above the state average. Oh, that's a duplicate. I'm sorry. For free and reduced lunch, that should say free and reduced lunch across the state. And let's see how we do with our peers with a much lower free and reduced lunch population. Hamilton Heights, less than 4% difference. Mount Vernon, less than 4% difference. We have a grade 3 through 8 English and math iLearn pass rate that is 2.2 higher than Greenfield. I'm sorry, 0.9 higher than Franklin, and we're 0.2 different with Greenfield. So when you want to compare how we do with our peers, I think we're holding up pretty well. 2 of those districts have a net positive student transfer in rate. People can't wait to get into 2 of those school districts with almost identical data to Lebanon. Us in Zionsville are above the state average in special education. That's just the second one should say free and reduced lunch. We're above the charter school average, flaw of average, I concede, and the independent private schools, both school districts above their pass rate. Our schools provide all of these things: high ability programming, K-12 programming, advanced placement, college dual credit, national merit semifinalists, national merit finalists, Indiana Academic All-Stars. Stay tuned, we have a big announcement coming on the Indiana Academic All-Stars. We both get direct admits into some amazing programs. It pained me to put Kelly School of Business on there, but I you know, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Both of our students' bodies are accepted to Ivy League schools if that's important to you. Community partnerships, competitive with our academic teams, robotics, all-state academic athletes. We both have Lilly Endowment Scholarship winners. We both have robust student leadership programs. We think we're serving our community pretty well. I'm not going to read all these to you, but we promised our community through our 2 referenda that we would do these things. We've done every single one of them. Every single one of them we've accomplished. We have over $200 million of renovation and construction out there to provide our students with modern, high-quality facilities. We have added instructional coaches, dedicated certified STEM teachers, robotics programs, fine arts in every elementary school, added a band director for our instrumental program, added a STEM educator for 6 through 12. All of the things that we have promised to do, we have done, and we announced last school board meeting with pictures that in 2026 we're going to launch a pre-K program in the current Central Elementary, something that our community told us that they wanted. So I'll finish here in the last few. This is what progress looks like. We embrace it. We know that students, and all of us, quite frankly, look like the picture on the right. We want things to be a straight line. We want things maybe sometimes to improve from point A to point B, but the reality is we're very complex. And if you see that squiggly line, that's reality, understand our teachers have 24, 25, 26, 20, 19, however many faces are looking back at them, of those squiggly lines. They have a monumental task in front of them, and they do an amazing job for our families and our kids every day. Jonathan Kozol, great author who spent his entire career being the champion for the underdog. Look into some of his work, but at the end of the day, what he reminds us is that our students are more than a test score, right? Our students deserve our best, and that's what I expect. I spend time every administrative meeting in some form or fashion impressing on our principals and assistant principals that we have to hire for this. When we're interviewing teachers, we hire for this. We hire people who embrace every student and want to grow every student. That's the non-negotiable. And that's what we expect from each other every day. You're going to hear something next week, a teaser. I'll give you a teaser, but a little bit more about it next week probably. We're actually transitioning. We have Tiger Pride tonight, awards for our students. But we're actually in the midst of transitioning from Tiger Pride to We Are Tigers. Over 2,000 of our students have completed a survey giving us input for a new acronym, because I challenged Deanna Nybarger and our curriculum and instruction and assessment team to design a K-12 student leadership framework. So we're going to begin that process that is Tiger Pride. I think some of you may realize that Central had been tied to Leader in Me, and now all 4 elementary schools are going to have the same student leadership platform, as well as moving through middle school and high school. So we have 2,000 survey respondents from our kids. But to make the point tonight, and the reason this slide is there, is that we don't exclude special needs students from enrollment here. Not only do we not exclude them, we include them in this conversation. So the administration at Hattie B. Stokes, where our life skills students are, created a way for our life skills students to provide input into this transition. They're contributing. Their voice is important on what they want their school to be and what student leadership is. So we're not marginalizing a special education classroom. We're including them with their voice as well. So our high expectations is that we believe everyone can be extraordinary. That's unconditional. I truly believe that. Everyone can be extraordinary, and that we are better today than we were yesterday. And that's what we're going to hold our standard to. That was a long sermonette. I realize that, and I appreciate everyone's patience in allowing me to do that. There comes a time, I think, as a superintendent, you need to speak up on behalf of the hardworking staff and administrators you have in your building. So thank you for allowing me to do that. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I agree. I mean, I think we know all the great things that are going on, but it's great to be reminded and to be able to have this information to share with other people that we have conversations with. So, like you've said, all of our schools have talented administrators and teachers and who will love all students and make sure they get the education that they are entitled to. So, thank you for sharing that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll go on to legislative updates on a happier note. That was sarcasm. So there's really one item we're going to talk about tonight, which is, and Mr. Dennis can join in fill in any blanks or correct me on incorrect information, because so much of it was flowing, and he might have heard something on the way to the meeting tonight that he hasn't even had time to make me aware of. So at midnight this morning, the state budget bill was passed. We're still trying to sift through the 300-page bill with our professional partners on what that means for public education. But the short version is it's not good. Probably in my 36 years, it's probably the most impactful, not in a positive way, for school funding for public schools in Indiana. I can't remember a worse one, quite frankly, in my time. So there's a lot here to go over. I just thought it might be easier to just to kind of put in a slide of winners and losers. And that's a little bit generalized, but not very. Businesses, there's a phase out of business personal property tax over the course of the next several years. Right now, that accounts for about 12% of our operations fund levy. So over a period of time, businesses will not be taxed on their business personal property. There still is a floor on the depreciation of that for equipment that's been purchased previous to January of 21?
This year, 2025, but
2025.
it only exists if that personal property is in a TIF district.
Correct.
As it is, it has to be levied to make redevelopment commission bond payments.
Yep, so if it isn't a TIF district, we actually still do get down to the 30% floor. We believe that over time, there'll be businesses that will begin to, as they may accumulate cash, they will begin replacing their current equipment with new equipment, because that new equipment will not be subject to any tax. So it will take some time for it to have its fullest effect on public schools, but it is significant. Cities and towns, and counties, I should have added on there as well. I put them in winter because on the face of it, they may seem to be a loser, but cities, towns, and counties have permission through the bill to raise our taxes through a local income tax to make up for the loss in property tax. So that's why the jury's still out from the taxpayer standpoint. We see all the property tax relief that was in the bill. However, if I'm a taxpayer, and we all are, I would expect to see your local income tax go up. Cities, towns, and counties are going to raise our local income tax to replace the loss of property tax revenue. Public schools were carved out specifically so that cities, towns, and counties may not share any local income tax with public schools. So we will not receive any of that relief from that. If there's a local income tax that rises, public schools by law cannot receive any of those funds. Redevelopment commissions will see a windfall from this because I don't want to get into the weeds, but because of the assessed valuation of the businesses will stay at their current amount. So redevelopment commissions will be able to levy or receive revenue. Actually, they'll see an increase in revenue as that AV increases in those TIF properties. So I think I did the center one for you there. Losers are us. This is a conservative, last I saw, this is a conservative estimate that public schools are going to lose at least $744 million in revenue over the next 3 years. But there's a more devastating cliff ahead in the way the tax structure is, including some of those business personal property tax items. I talked about carving us out so we cannot receive any of the local income tax that may be increased. If schools go out for a referendum to try to make up for the loss in revenue, the ballot language has been revised again to the actually the most unfriendly to public education version of the language that we've seen in any of the iterations of it. Very confusing for the taxpayers, very difficult. And then possibly homeowners. I wasn't really sure which column to put homeowners in because it kind of depends. You know, it depends on what happens with local income tax and whether it wipes out any savings from property taxes. That will vary from property to property. So I wasn't really sure where to put that group of people, including all of us. So. At the end of the session, about 2 days before the end of the session, I added this second slide with losers in public schools. A $300 homeowner tax credit was added basically at the last minute, last couple days, I would say, right?
It was originally 150 and raised to 300.
Raised to 300.
200, excuse me, raised to 300.
Yeah, 200. So our just back of the napkin, right, estimate is that next year, Lebanon will see a $950,000 loss from that $300 tax credit when just calculating what that means for Lebanon schools. this is just a reminder, another winner, charter schools won. Important to point out, board, that charter schools, when you hear the conversation about charter schools needing capital dollars, I'm old enough to remember that when charter schools were enacted in Indiana, what was told to us was that we can educate students, students can be educated for half of what public schools are doing it for. And I remember having a conversation with a politician saying, well, at some point, charter school parents are going to want their students to be in theater, in band, and in sports. So they're going to want gymnasiums and stages and facilities to support that. And that's what's happened over time. And so they've wanted more and more because the parents demand that and education demands that. So not long after charters were established, that's when it was the reason we sat here several years ago and could not entertain the idea of potentially demolishing Harney Elementary and going to 3 large elementaries instead of maintaining 4, because if we emptied Harney, we would have to make Harney available to a charter school for $1, if you recall. And so charter schools can purchase unused school buildings for $1. That law's been there for quite some time, and we were not prepared to take a taxpayer paid for and maintained asset and sell it for $1 to a for-profit run entity. So that's been there for a while. But charter schools receive $1,500 per child for their operations. If you look in the third column, public schools receive 0 from the state for operations. Our operations are 100% dependent on property tax. If you're a brick and mortar charter school in a school district, public school districts now under Senate Bill 1, we must share part of our operating fund with the charter school. That's again, if there's 100 students in a brick and mortar charter. We also, if we passed a referendum and there was a 100 student charter in the district, we would be required to share referendum funds. That's a double whammy for taxpayers because we're going to ask for what we need anyway. So instead of asking for what we need, we're going to ask for what we need plus what we're going to have to give to a charter, if that would be the case. So we're actually going to have to ask the taxpayers for more than what we need, which will cost the taxpayers more dollars if it passes. So that's important to point out as well. And this is my last slide because this has been said a lot in this legislative session. Schools just got to figure out how to do more with less. I have never in all my time done more with less. I do less with less. If any of us have ever been laid off, somebody in our family's lost their job, very rarely have we ever done more. We don't order the pizza. We don't go out for dinner. We take that car to 250,000 miles instead of replacing it. Usually we do less with less. So I'm not sure that's really a thing, but that's been told to us throughout this process. That was a lot of talking. I apologize to all those students out there that all they want to do is get their certificate and go home. But thank you for that. Any questions, Mr. Dennis and I will be happy to answer those. He's much more versed in this issue than I am. Oh, I will also say the partisan school board bill that we've talked about the last couple board meetings, it's kind of hung out, it's kind of hanging out in concurrence, is that the right word? Conference committee. So we're not sure what's going to happen with that. It may die there, or it may get resurrected before the end of the session, but I know we had talked about that, so I want to give you just a quick update on that as well. Any questions for Mr. Dennis or I to try to help you out?
All right. Thank you. Important things happening at the State House. Let's move on to happier things, yes. Announcements and celebrations.
We have some great announcements and celebrations. It was therapeutic to laugh as hard as I laughed at what went wrong at the I'm not going to get the title right, at our play. The play that went wrong. The play that went wrong. Thank you. If you didn't go, you missed an incredible performance. Just an amazing job by our theater department. So kudos to them this last weekend. our concert band and wind ensemble and concert choirs all received gold ratings last weekend. And as a former music teacher, what impressed me as much was that they all got gold ratings in sight reading. And if you don't know what that means, is that you're given a piece of music that you've never seen before. The students have never seen it in their life, and they get like 5 minutes to look at it with their director, and then they have to perform it. And so it's stressful, and so super proud of their work. And our winter percussion ensemble were bronze medalists in the Indiana Percussion Association state finals, top 3 in their first attempt at movement class. And then they traveled to Kentucky, just over the border, I think. We had a chat about this. To Kentucky, I think, for the Tri-State Percussion Association, and were grand champions. So I'm going to be inviting the percussion ensemble to the May board meeting so the board can congratulate them in person, because that's quite an accomplishment. So there you go, some happy thoughts for announcements and celebrations.
That is great news. All right, Tiger Pride.
Let's do it. Mrs. Dennis?
Good evening. We are proud to recognize students that earned a Tiger Pride Champion Award in either March or April. The award is designed to nominate and select students who take pride in themselves and their school. The Tiger Pride Champion Award celebrates individual achievements by recognizing students who demonstrate persistence, respectfulness, initiative, dependability, and efficiency. The following students were recognized at the respective schools in front of their peers, but we are excited to recognize them here again tonight at the school board meeting. Students, please come up when your name is called, and then we'll take a photo at the end. From Central, Hunter Berkshire, and Colin Howe. From Harney, Matthew Beal, and Devin Sample. From Hattie B. Stokes, Rayleigh Madison, and Abigail Valesco Nieves. From Perryworth, Cora Owens, and Max Bean. From Lebanon Middle School, Emmeline Garcia, did you win? I wondered the same. Jackson Mefford, Jillian Pollock, and Maya Walters. And from Lebanon High School, Stephen Barker, Annabelle Carter, Amelia Murphy, and Gabriel Robinson. Congrats to all of our nominees.
We'll hold the pose. You can actually come up closer. We're close to this. Lexi will get hers, and he can get you together. She needs to arrange first, probably, right?
Yeah, let's come in here a little bit. Everyone get real close.
Excuse me, sir.
If we can.
I was on Jordan. I go, excuse me, sir, the meeting's not over.
I like that they came with their baseball
Yeah.
or whatever softball.
Solid.
Now let's go over here. Bring the second one in.
Yes.
Yeah, I think she's sliding.
she bossed me around like it was nothing. I'm like, what? Maybe it's just you. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. She was probably thinking, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this one right off the top. You do this, this, and this when I tell you I'm in charge. That's what she was awesome. She was really good.
Yeah, the pictures were cute, if I remember.
She does great work.
Families, you are welcome to stay, but I'm sure you have homework and other things you want to do, so we'll give you a couple minutes to exit if you would like.
Oh, I'll take one. You got one.
Let me see. I
Cough drop.
hope you're not getting sick.
No.
No, if I had my big giant purse, I would have everything. I thought I saw some. I have mints.
Hey, that might work.
Help
Oh,
yourself.
look at that.
You may have the rest of them if you want them.
I'll even share one. Which one?
Okay. Oh, I'm a giant purse, so. All right. Thank you to all of our families. That is like my favorite part of the meeting. I love it. We have a few diehard fans left in the room. We're going to move on to consent agenda staff matters.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. For this evening, under our classified staff, I'm asking for approval of 974 and 975 new hires, resignations 976 through 982, and transfer 983. For certified staff this evening, leave of absence number 275, new hires 276 through 279, resignations 280 through 283, and retirements 284 through 288. In our extracurricular recommendations this evening, a resignation 972 and a ECA volunteer or a baseball coach volunteer 973.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the classified, certified, and ECA names as presented?
So moved.
Can I have a second? I knew we were getting ready to say that. Thank you, Mr. Parks. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. And then I think,
Yeah, we have
We have
an
an-
introduction. Mr. Salzman, would you like to come up? Mr. Martin might, or maybe Mrs. Beltran, one of the two has a handheld for you, perhaps somewhere on one side or the other. Oh, just use that. Thank you very much. Yeah, why don't you come up here though, so she can face the camera that's looking our way. We're good. All right.
Do I face that way as well, or what?
No, yeah, whichever way you want.
So, so I think the board knows that most recently we have started to go away from joint services and into taking over special education in-house. And recently I was approved as a director. And coming out of that, we're like, well, we need support. So we decided to do a search for an assistant director. And we had over 20 applicants, did 4 interviews, 2 final interviews, and it was pretty clear who we wanted for that position. And after a few questions, Ms. Heather Pitcock decided to accept the position, and we couldn't be more than happy. She is coming from 25 years of experience and service in the public education realm, a lot of those in special education. The past 9 years, she has been the assistant principal of Fox Hill Elementary in Washington Township. Most importantly, though, she brings a mindset that's student-focused and oriented on growth. And she's going to bring a depth and breadth of knowledge to our district in special education and many other areas. So we are blessed to have her.
give her an opportunity to introduce her better half, or not better half, your lower half. Lower half, your lower half, yes. I can say that because I do know Mr. Pitcock as well, so I can get by with that.
So my husband, Bill Pitcock, is here this evening, who also is a principal in education. So we're an education family. So I am looking forward to being in Lebanon Community Schools. My passion is for our special education students, ensuring that they are achieving to the highest that they can, that they are included in all of our students and our schools, and that every student is achieving to their greatest potential. So I'm looking forward to this new opportunity. I'm excited, and so thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Welcome. Welcome. All right, consent agenda, business matters. Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Mrs. Hutchison. Provided to the board this evening is our monthly performance reports that I share with the board on a monthly basis. You'll find in addition to that, quarterly, I do like to share with you the performance of our current construction projects. You'll notice that has grown by 2 more with the addition of Hattie B. Stokes and the high school project, and we'll soon grow one last time by 2 more. 3 months from now when we do this again, I wonder though if it may shrink as Harney, Perryworth, and Central will fall off. So with that, happy to answer any questions that you may have about the reports prior to reading the claims for this month.
Any questions for Mr. Dennis? All right, you can proceed.
Hearing none, then graciously request your approval of the March 28th and April 11th payroll in the amount of $2,224,024. Claims for that time period of $1,660,305.85 for a total between the two of $3,884,306.09. Thanks.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the claims as read, please?
Motion.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you. Mr. Dennis, do you have more to share?
Nothing, just ready to move on to action items.
Okay.
No comments from the public?
We have no one signed up. Okay. We'll move on to action items then. Mr. Dennis.
So I think I will make a motion at this point to add an agenda item regarding the Hattie B. Stokes bid package. So I'll be moving to add the Hattie B. Stokes bid package to the agenda. Is that under item number, what will that be under? I, is that right?
Okay. We need a second.
I will second.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have added that to the agenda. Okay, Mr. Dennis.
Thank you. We'll move on to change orders for this month. We'll take a little time in this document this month. It's a bit involved, both in quantity, several smaller change orders, but a few of note. The first, I'll ask the board to scroll down to Central Elementary. And the one change order we have this month for Central Elementary is the first of many that we will have. Admittedly so, the larger ones will be for Central Elementary. Many months ago, had a conversation with the board about our strategy for unexpected expenses and the fact that you can do that in allowance, which is baked into the contract that you issue the contractors on the contract initiation date, or you can do that in the form of what's known as contingency, which is money that you, the owner, set aside, but you know that every single time that there is a change in the work, that contract will require formal action at one of these meetings. So with the elementary projects, we utilize the allowance model, and you're seeing the return of the unused allowance from our Mason at Central Elementary, and that's a rather sizable amount. And again, the amount of allowance that you determine to provide and ask a contractor to include in their contract is a function of the size of the contract or the budgeted size of the contract. So I believe that the Mason only had about $180,000 in contingency, so used a very small amount, about $28,000. So at that point, this $152,000 is returned to us. If you can scroll up slightly to the upper right-hand box in Central Elementary, which I share for all of the schools, which is the remaining allowance and contingency, you would think that that number would increase by $152,000. At this point, though, what we're treating is that returned allowance just moves to owner-held contingency at this point. So that $152,000 was in that $1 million as allowance, but now it's there as contingency. And the benefit of how this project was presented to the community in the referendum is that all of our schools would benefit from renovation. So renovation from this referendum, that is. So at this point then, this $152,000 could then be used to supplement Hattie B. Stokes Elementary or any issues that arise at other elementary schools. So it's essentially one big budget, even though I break these out by school on this document to you, because we named all of these schools, these elementary schools, in the referendum project, it becomes one big budget. So that is relevant for the next few items that I wish to share with the board this evening. You do see two rather sizable positive change orders, both to our flooring contractors at both Harney and Perryworth elementary schools, and those are for the addition of a protective tile wainscot. So all of our elementary schools have historically had a vinyl, think of it as a thick wallpaper applied to the walls, and that is there for durability, quite honestly, and in its prime when it was installed 20 years ago, I imagine aesthetics as well, although that did not age well if you look at some of the vinyl protective wall covering at our schools. That's not an option that LCSC prefers to go with, as that option peels. Sometimes students can get a little fidgety with that and cause it to peel more. And so when these projects kicked off, we elected to try just drywall and paint. Our walls would be finished with drywall and paint. It was a budget protector at the time. And Harney Elementary actually was the first elementary to really open up to students, and it became evident very quickly that those drywall and painted walls weren't holding up well to the dings and nicks that are experienced from the zippers on backpacks of students as they walk down the hallways. Less than half of the corridors at Harney have been finished and available for students to bump into so far, and I will share with the board, we were holding a quote through the damage that had been occurred through October. It was already going to be roughly $15,000 to have a drywaller come in and repair those and then paint it back over. And so again, these two change orders, one to Blakely's that you see at Perryworth and the other to Jack Laurie that you see at Harney, seem like a large quantity of money, and they are a large quantity of money, but it is to protect the annual maintenance budget that would be incurred by LCSC hiring a painter summer after summer after summer to repair the damage at these schools, and really what drives the cost of those projects up. It's one thing to have someone come in and paint a wall, this wall right here, for example, but if we have to repaint this wall and then a wall that's on the second floor over there, you're asking them to mobilize to multiple locations throughout the school. That drives the cost up. So I do believe that this is a verified, justifiable, and wise cost for the school to invest in. Now these contractors are at our locations. They are already mobilized, and that's reflected in the price. I do want to share, and I do want to get this in the minutes, for Jack Laurie at Harney, this change order does go over 20% of the contract value. There's statutory language in Indiana code stating that that may not happen less unforeseen circumstances. And so my recommendation to the board is that the damage to these walls and therefore the increased costs that will happen perpetually at LCSC were an unforeseen condition to LCSC at the time, and that we are justified in our exceeding of that 20% change order capacity for the Jack Laurie contract at Harney Elementary. Other than that, the change orders are fairly benign for the month and routine, I would say, for the size and scope of the projects that we were doing. So a lot of information there. Happy to give time to the board now for any questions that they may have regarding these projects or ones that I did not bring up from the log.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. What is the wall covering or whatever that's going on? Is it tile or is it something else?
So we've elected to utilize a tile wainscoting. So you may wonder why the flooring contractor has the contract to hang something on the walls. What I've learned is the adhesive by which you attach something to a wall determines what trade does it. So if it is a wallpaper with a glue adhesive, that is where a drywaller would be the trade that performs that. But since this is a tile and will be applied with thin set mortar, that's the same thing that applies floor tile. That's why a flooring contractor is working up our walls, just like a flooring contractor would do wall tile.
Sure. that makes sense. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Dennis?
Yeah, as to, and I'm sorry, I may have just missed it when you mentioned this. What was did you say the number regarding the quote to repaint and repair at Harney, that the new existing walls that we just did? How much was that?
Yeah, so that was to not even include paint. It was over $10,000 to fill the dings and nicks. Getting a paint quote for that, we were estimating, was at least $5,000. I think the key thing to remember there is 100% of the walls are not already renovated at Harney.
Right.
So students weren't even migrating through the entire building, and that was only through October of this year. So again, extrapolating the damage that had occurred through October through less than half of the walls that will eventually be there at Harney. Again, tough to say. Would it be fair to say that over $20,000 would be the cost to reset the damage that has occurred this year? And again, you can extrapolate that over the lifetime of this wall tile, which will be 20 years. That far exceeds the price of this one-time cost here.
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking for that elaboration regarding
Yep.
an unforeseen circumstance, which that
Sure.
certainly would be over the course, the lifetime of this.
And this is what we have at, like, the new school and,
Yes, so this was placed at the new school, and it's also worth noting why this is so much cheaper at Perry Worth. Harney is our only school without corridor lockers. So on half of the walls at Perry Worth, there are lockers. Those obviously aren't going to be damaged by zippers on backpacks. So that's why it's cheaper there. The new elementary has this as well. There's a lot of common spaces, though, at the new elementary that receives this wainscoting. It is as tall as you would think a wainscoting would be, roughly 39. It is exactly 39 inches. Great thing about this is, while this may get scuffed, our custodians have little Swiffers, and they'll be able to wipe these scuffs off as they occur, and obviously it's much more resilient than drywall to dings from.
and it looks nice too.
I will say it is a fantastic and most importantly timeless aesthetic, whereas the vinyl protective wall covering, while effective, peels and doesn't tend to stand the test of time from an aesthetic point of view.
Any more questions for Mr. Dennis on the change orders?
I'll just make one note that the 20% is of the contract with this one contractor, not the 20% of the building cost. So anybody hearing that, it's with this one contractor on that project, not the overall 20% of the cost.
Absolutely, yes. This is 20% of the cost of two Jack Laurie, yes. And worth noting as well, even with these change orders, we are still well within our original, but these don't put us over budget as a result of these change orders. So I did want to note that as well.
Correct. And I think we've talked about this before, but there are also pro bono services that a lot of our contractors will do for us, in exchange for like these overages too. So hopefully, even though we're not over budget, maybe that will happen as well.
Certainly capabilities to swap services and yeah, possible. Yep.
Can I have a motion to approve the change orders as Mr. Dennis has presented them?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Clauser. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? All right, thank you. Mr. Dennis, proposal for relocation project.
We will certainly take these next two action items as two separate pieces of action, but both related to the same action that we need to perform this summer. So in order to move the amount of furniture, items, things inside of our schools, the manpower that we employ is not sufficient, and so a moving company is necessary. What this company will do is move furniture that we're keeping. They will assist in the vendor on the next action item with moving furniture that we're decommissioning. More importantly, this vendor will provide totes for our teachers to fill with their personal effects that we will move to the new school for them. So there are items that belong to LCSC and that our teachers use and some of their personal items, even if they were willing to take the risk that they may be destroyed. Obviously, we don't wish for that to happen, and we don't believe that it will happen. But this moving company will provide the totes and the tags for them to, let's say, leave the existing Central Elementary and arrive in their room at the new Central Elementary for them, so they aren't moving items back and forth. Now, there are items that we are asking our teachers, that these may be large items that our teachers have brought into their classrooms. They are responsible for moving those, but small items that we can move effectively, we are requesting the board to approve this agreement with Hogan Transfer to perform this for us. I will say they've done this on a much smaller scale for us so far at Perryworth and Harney. An absolutely fantastic job that they do. They show up when they say they're going to show up. They work hard, and then they leave. And so they've been fantastic to work with so far. So happy to answer any questions for this regarding movement really at all of our schools under construction. This includes middle school, high school. This is district-wide.
Any questions for Mr. Dennis? All right, can I have a motion to approve the proposal for the relocation project with Hogan?
All motion.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? All right. Motion passes. Mr. Dennis, addendum to the agreement with relocation services.
Yeah, so you may remember Julie Hutchison coming in from Relocation Strategies. This is a vendor that attempts to find someone who can utilize our furniture that is aging but still usable, that we are decommissioning. Really just wanted to bring this to the board because our current agreement with them was just for our elementary schools. We obviously have furniture at the middle school that would benefit from this as well as Hattie B. Stokes. Identical hourly rate that she provided before, but just bringing this to the board to tie up any loose ends, and the fact that the previous agreement only stated Perryworth and Harney, and so adding the rest of the schools that are decommissioning furniture here.
Any questions about that? All right, can I have a motion to approve the addendum to the agreement for relocation services to include all schools?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Parks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Mr. Dennis, appendices to the master agreement with Meyer Najum.
Yeah, bittersweet item here. The final two, we'll call them projects that Meyer Najum is currently going to serve for the construction manager for us on. They have been a fantastic partner for us. At this time, these two projects are the last two projects that we have on our renovation list, and so these will be the last two projects shy of anything we identify in the coming years that we may need help with, but we've done this multiple times as new projects have come on. So bringing to the board, and you have in your packet, their fee to serve as our construction manager for the existing central, future preschool, and admin offices, and the Stokes renovation. So happy to answer any questions about that.
Any questions for Mr. Dennis? All right, can I have a motion to approve the appendices to the master agreement with Meyer Najum?
All motion.
Thank you. Second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right. And Mr. Dennis, again, the Schmidt fee adjustment.
So the board will recall that our work with Schmidt on the middle school, transportation, new preschool, and our offices, the renovation of the existing Central Elementary and the high school, that began in early 2023. And a lot of the architectural work and planning begins in those early stages. And at that time, we agreed to set a fee on an estimated cost of the work. That allowed Schmidt to begin billing us, and as they are entitled to do so, receive billings from us for work that they had rendered. The contract that we signed, and we were aware of this, was that our fee for Schmidt's architectural and engineering work would be based upon the design development budget for all of these projects. As the design development budgets came in, they appeared to be a little bit high, and at that time Schmidt agreed to utilize the actual bid day results for the cost of the work with which to base their fee. Schmidt was right, and the bid day results were much lower than the design development budget, and as a result, that ends up saving us money. So this is an increase in their fee, but it's because our original idea of the cost of the work was just a rough estimate by us that we included in the RFP. Again, this does not bring us out of budget. We were estimating that these costs, and we knew these costs would be coming, but this is just memorializing what the true fee to Schmidt would be now that we have all the bid day results. The reason that we waited this long, as the board will remember at the last board meeting, is when we approved the bids for the high school and Central Elementary comes tonight. And so now that we know the true cost of Central Elementary, that's when it made sense to true up all of these fees. So this again was in the contractual language with Schmidt all along, and is just truing up their fee according to our contractual agreement.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dennis on the fee adjustment? Okay. Can I have an approval of the motion to include the Schmidt fee adjustment into their contract?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Clauser. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. And Mr. Dennis, Red Rover hiring and onboarding software.
This is a budget neutral action I'm bringing to the board this evening. We do have a current hiring and onboarding platform. This is where anyone who wanted to work for us would go to submit their application. It's a service and company that many, in fact, the majority of school corporations statewide utilize. Hasn't been a lot of improvements to this over the years. It appears dated. We have a current agreement with Red Rover for our timekeeping and our absence management. Through that, they brought forward this module, this hiring module. Many advantages to school administrators that I won't go into, but will be happy to answer if you would like to hear any of the benefits of this program. But it happens to be the exact same cost for the service that we're providing, or we're paying for right now, just as it is an ongoing contract that will be an expense that will be incurred year over year. Wanted to bring it to the board for your approval.
Any questions about Red Rover? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the Red Rover hiring and onboarding software agreement?
No motion.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Mr. Dennis, bids for Central Elementary renovations.
All right, we have tended to do these in one sweeping action item at the end, so what I'll do is I will read the bid package and the winning contractor and the amount, and then we'll just take one action item at the end if you prefer. So these are for the renovations of the current Central Elementary to become preschool and the admin offices. Bid package 1 was earthwork and utilities. Connexco was the winning bidder in the amount of $791,886. Bid package 2 was asphalt paving. That goes to Ruddig Paving in the amount of $293,200. General trades package goes to JBM Contractors in the amount of $1,895,300. Bid package 4 for finished carpentry and casework is Deco Associates in the amount of $251,000. Bid package 6 is metal studs and drywall, which is SCS Construction in the amount of $806,400. Bid package 7, carpet, resilient tile flooring is TF Andrew in the amount of $438,900. Bid package 8 is painting and wall coverings to Inline Painting in the amount of $101,700. Bid package 9, food service equipment, Stafford Smith in the amount of $150,262. Bid package 10, mechanical and plumbing, Johnson Mello, $2,783,000. Bid package 11, electrical and technology is Long Electric, $1,708,400. Total hard costs for Central Elementary renovations, $9,220,048.
Can you explain why bid package 5 roofing is removed?
We decided not to pursue the scope of that project.
Okay. Any questions about these bid packages? All right. Can I have a motion? Actually, I'll make the motion to approve these bid packages. And can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Clauser. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. And on to Stokes renovations.
So it was last month I brought Stokes bids to the board. I explained at that time we did not have participation in 2 bid packages. Bringing to the board this evening 3 contracts. You may ask why 3 when we didn't receive participation for 2 last times. We received feedback from mechanical contractors that what was a little bit of a deterrent to them was that the fire protection was included in their package, which is common at times, but some of them prefer not to do it. In order to get participation and actually get this project off the ground and running for this summer, we went ahead and separated out the fire protection from the mechanical bid package. So that's why I'm going to read 3 to you this evening. So the ones that we were missing were metal studs and drywall, and then obviously the mechanical that I just mentioned. So when we rebid this, metal stud and drywall was bid by a company by the name of Architectural Walls in the amount of $1,182,980. The mechanical is going to be Commercial Air, which is convenient for them since it's right across the street from Hattie B. Stokes, in the amount of $664,150. And then fire protection will be Florian Fire Protection for $39,317. And that will complete with the contracts awarded at last board meeting a full coverage at Hattie B. Stokes.
Any questions about those bid packages? All right, can I have a motion to approve the bid packages for Stokes?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, and I will second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Dr. Milliman, engine donation.
Yes, you can see that there's a donation to our ag department as well as FFA. Since it did exceed the $1,000, there's a group of small engines donated to the ag and FFA department, which is great because it'll do dual duty for us in our ag mechanics classes, as well as the competitions regarding small engines in the FFA arena. So I'm happy to bring this donation to the board this evening for your approval.
And that is from Relco. I'm not sure if we said that.
Yes,
but
I'm sorry. Thank you for giving them credit.
yeah, that's exciting. I'm sure the students are going to enjoy having those to take apart.
Yes. And hopefully put back together.
Yeah, hopefully put back together. Can I have a motion to approve the donation from Relco of the 12 small engines?
No motion.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thanks to them. That's a great donation. Moving on to overnight and out-of-state trips, Mr. Martin.
I have 2 trip requests, Washington, D.C. for the 8th grade and Camp Tecumseh for Perry Worth.
Okay. I remember those trips. Can I have a motion to approve the overnight and out-of-state trips as presented?
I will motion.
Thank you, and I will second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Have fun, students. We have our regular board meeting on May the 20th. The last student day, is hard to believe, it's coming up, May 23rd.
Yes.
And then graduation on May the 30th.
May 30th, that's
That'll
correct.
be here before we know it. So we'll be looking forward to all those festivities.